Hello everybody and welcome back to Unicorn Horns, a discussion series about Chinese science fiction. We are back. It's been a while, but we are back. Today we will be discussing The Fish of Lijiang by Chen Qiufan. The Fish of Lijiang can be found in Ken Liu's first collection of translated science fiction from China called Invisible Planets. It can also be found at Clarkesworld for free, so I'll leave a link in the description below. I definitely recommend reading it first because I'll be spoiling once again, so it will only take you about 20 minutes to read, so I recommend doing that and then coming back. Chen Qiufan has become one of the most well-known science fiction authors from China. He was born in 1981, so he is a generation younger than some of the other famous Chinese science fiction authors we have covered in the past, like Liu Cixin and Han Song. We have Chen Qiufan to thank for the rise in English language translations of Chinese science fiction. Chen Qiufan and translator and author Ken Liu became friends years ago, and actually this story, The Fish of Lijiang, became Ken Liu's entry point into translating Chinese science fiction into English. Eventually from there, Ken Liu translated The Three-Body Problem, which ended up winning the Hugo Award. It also led to him releasing this collection, Invisible Planets, in 2016, which sort of started the rise of Chinese science fiction being translated into English and published in the US and other countries. As a representative of the younger generation, Chen Qiufan's stories reflect the rise of technology as well as the anxieties of youth. If you have followed news in China over the past several years, you may have heard stories about the immense pressures on youth in China. The extreme competition goes beyond the college entrance examination and into the workplace, with work ideas like 996 being adopted by some companies. The idea of 996 being that you work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. Although this work habit has recently been cracked down upon by the government in China only a few months ago, it illustrates that there is a lot of pressure, especially in the tech world, for youth in China. And this pressure also exists, I think, for youth in other places around the world, especially in the tech industry. The tech industry as a whole has created a kind of productivity fervor in the entire world. Chen Qiufan's stories provide a deep understanding of contemporary work life and provide us some vision of what our future might look like. His story, The Fish of Lijiang, takes place in the real city of Lijiang in western China in Yunnan province. Lijiang has become known over the years as a place for hippies and artists, or as the author says in the story, where young people who fancied themselves artists slept with one another. I think we all have places like this in our own countries around the world, a place that is popular for vacationers, where you go and time seems to slow down. In this story, the unnamed main character is forced to return to Lijiang as a kind of rehabilitation. He is told that he has suffered psychogenic neural functional disorder 2. In the first few days of his rehabilitation, the main character runs into a woman and they start spending time together. Slowly, the main character realizes that everything he once remembered from his last visit to Lijiang a decade ago has become automated, from the traditional folk music being played outside to the blue sky overhead. Everything is artificial. And soon, the main character realizes that the woman he has been spending time with was also a situation that was prearranged. He learns that he was unwittingly given what was called a time-sense compression procedure, which allows workers to experience seconds as hours and thus be more productive in the workplace. The woman the main character has been set up with is actually a nurse for wealthy businessmen who have been given the opposite procedure, time-sense dilation therapy, that allows them to experience hours as seconds and thus live for longer than the average human. As the nurse of these wealthy people, the woman the main character has been spending time with has also received some time-sense dilation therapy, and so the two of them have been placed together to regain some equilibrium in their lives. In the end of the story, the main character and this woman end their romantic interlude and go their separate ways. The main character returns home knowing that he has unwittingly been given this time-sense compression procedure, but also knowing that he has no choice but to return to work. So, like most of the stories we have covered so far in this channel, this story sort of defies summary, but I did my best. The end of this story feels deeply pessimistic about the future of society. The main character has no choice but to return home and to return to time-sense compression and to return to work. The story could be read as a critique of capitalism, a critique of contemporary workplace culture, and a critique of automation in general. In the same collection where this story was published, Ken Liu also includes an essay by Chen Qiufan called The Torn Generation, Chinese Science Fiction in a Culture of Transition, in which Chen comments upon his general worldview. "I'm not filled with despair and gloom for the future of China," he writes. "I wrote about the suffering of a China in transformation because I yearn to see it change gradually for the better. Science fiction is a vehicle of aesthetics to express my values and myself. In my view, what if is at the heart of science fiction. Starting with reality itself, the writer applies plausible and logically consistent conditions to play out a thought experiment, pushing the character and plot towards an imagined hyperreality that evokes a sense of wonder and estrangement. Faced with the absurd reality of contemporary China, the writer cannot fully explore or express the possibilities of extreme beauty and extreme ugliness without resorting to science fiction." Of course, I think this absurd reality that Chen Qiufan talks about in 2016 exists all around the world today. For people around the world, contemporary absurdity comes from the speed and development of technology that's happening all around us. This speed and development of technology in society is what created science fiction at the turn of the century, and it is what is driving the popularity of science fiction today, because every day it seems like we are getting closer and closer to living in a science fiction story ourselves. Imagining the future in fiction, therefore, is just another way of expressing how we are feeling about today. Recently, Chen Qiufan released another short story collection with the Taiwanese businessman Kai-Fu Lee called AI 2041. In this collection, Kai-Fu Lee has given himself the task of predicting what will happen with AI in the future from the perspective of someone who's in the AI field. If Kai-Fu Lee is the tech guru who speaks for the future of AI in this collection, then Chen Qiufan is the artist who speaks for the future of humanity. In the introduction to AI 2041, Chen Qiufan writes, "To me, science fiction is fascinating because it not only generates an imaginative space for escapists to leave behind their mundane lives, play the role of superheroes, and freely explore galaxies far, far away, but it also provides a precious opportunity for them to temporarily remove themselves from everyday reality and critically reflect upon it. By imagining the future through science fiction, we can step in, make change, and actively play a role in shaping our reality." As a writer, Chen Qiufan's job is not to give us predictions about the future, but to tell stories that will both warn us, like the Fish of Lijiang, and guide us to create a more positive future for ourselves. Science fiction has always been inspired by technological growth, but technological growth has also been inspired by science fiction. So writing about the future is not only about predicting what will happen, it's also about influencing how that future is created. So that is it for today. Thank you everybody for watching. As always, I have posted links below for more reading if you are interested. I especially recommend reading a recent Wired article about Chen Qiufan by the journalist Yi-Ling Liu. And I also recommend getting the newly released AI 2041. I may make another video about this sometime in the future. Of course, if you don't want to go out and buy a new book, I also recommend reading everything Chen Qiufan at Clarkesworld. It's up there for free. I posted a link below as well. Feel free to comment about your thoughts on the Fish of Lijiang or about science fiction in general. I hope to make another video very soon, so feel free to subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.